let me introduce your next speaker today. His name is Kent C. Dodds. The C stands for Cowabunga. Kent is a world-renowned speaker, teacher, and trainer, and he's actively involved in the open source community as a maintainer and contributor of hundreds of popular NPM packages. He is the creator of EpicWeb.dev, the Epic Stack. What is that? I made that one up. The Epic Stack. I almost revealed the next thing coming out, the Epic Stack. The EpicReact.dev and testingjavascript.com. He's an instructor on egghead.io and Frontend Masters. He's also, is that still true, Ken? Yeah, okay, it's still true. Content's getting a little older, though, let's just say. All right. He's also a live streamer, podcaster, and conference organizer. Kent is married and the father of 5 kids. His talk title is Letting AI Interface with Your App with MCPs. Like Kent C. Dodd, it's the MCP. The C stands for Cowabunga. Please welcome Kent C. Dodds.
All right, thank you. I need to update. I should be plugged in. I need to update my. There we go. My bio. I am expecting our. My wife is going to be having our 6th child in just a couple weeks. Yeah. Woohoo! So. I changed the title of my talk. It is now The Future of User Interaction. This is an exciting future, and before we get too far into talking about it, I would like to invite you all to please stand up. If you're physically able to join us, which I think you all are, stand up, put your arms out in front of you like this, squat down and come back up. This is called exercise. We're going to get blood flowing so that your brain is ready for what we're going to talk about. I want you to count out loud with me. We'll do 12. Ready? 1, 2, there we go, louder. 3, there we go. 4, 5, doesn't that feel good? 6, you can go really deep too. 7, or just do a little shallow one. 9, 10, let's start over. 1, no, just kidding. And 12. Okay, stretch over your head and over to one side and over to the other. Ah, that feels great. Sit down in those nice, comfortable chairs. You can now take a nap. Thank you. Okay. Raise your hand if you know what Jarvis is, who Jarvis is. Really? Okay, no, seriously. Raise your hand. Iron Man, okay, Marvel Cinematic Universe. You've seen this before. Jarvis is just a rather very intelligent system. We call that a backronym. They were like, Jarvis sounds cool. How can we make that an acronym? So Tony Stark is Iron Man. He announced that himself. And he is a brilliant software engineer and engineer in general. And he does weapons dealing, actually. But one of the things that he builds is this suit. And he integrated into this Iron Man suit is this artificial intelligence. And in fact, it's integrated everywhere. Jarvis is awesome because he can do a ton of stuff. Like, everything. Jarvis is everything for Tony Stark. He can answer any question. He can perform actions in the real world. And I grew up as a Trekkie, and so Jarvis is basically like the computer in Star Trek. Just natural language communication, always present, able to answer questions and actually perform actions in the real world. Super cool. I would like one. Maybe I don't necessarily need help with combat assistance or anything, but like some of these things are really applicable to me. So if this clicker will work, there we go. The experience of using Jarvis is, man, this clicker is just a little too sensitive. Oh man, what happened? Stop! All right, we're going to give up on the clicker, and we're going to do it this way. Okay. Yeah, so the experience of using Jarvis is phenomenal. He uses natural language to communicate. And even Jarvis recognizes when Tony is speaking versus anybody else that he's with. It's multimodal, so sometimes Tony is there texting on his phone with Jarvis, and other times he's speaking, other times he's doing hand gestures, he's showing in video. Jarvis instantly responds even if the thing that he's been asked to do isn't actually is a thing that's going to take some time. And he's proactive. He says, hey, that thing that I was working on last night is done. Here's the results. Oh, you're talking about this. I actually have some useful information to include. No configuration necessary. Jarvis programs himself, and he's everywhere. The same assistant for every single context. And this is a really awesome experience. Anytime that Tony needs something, Jarvis is there to deliver. I think that we are entering a paradigm shift in the way that users interact with software. And this is one of the things that's really exciting, and it's one of the reasons why everybody is talking about AI right now, is because it's leading this huge shift in the way that we interact with software. Right now, for most of us here, we're at a JavaScript conference. We're all using browsers. We're programming browsers. Maybe you're doing some back-end stuff too, but like we use browsers and we build websites. Users consume our websites through their browsers. There are a handful of browsers that most users use, and there are billions. Actually, I had ChatGPT calculate it for me. There are 1.2 trillion websites in the world, according to ChatGPT, which of course got its information from somewhere that I'm sure is a very accurate count. But that's a lot of websites. And I think that we are transitioning into a new age of user interaction, and that is with Jarvis clients and MCP services. And so I think that in the future, we're going to have billions of MCP services, maybe trillions of MCP services that are exposing our services to the Jarvis-like clients that are going to replace browsers. And in fact, lots of browsers are becoming AI agents, and AI agents are becoming like browsers. They're going to become the same thing. And there are really good reasons for that we'll talk about. So my question is, to like shine on your faces, you all got a lot easier to see all of a sudden. My question is, what can we not do that Jarvis can do? Now, if you've not seen the movies, that might be a little bit harder for you to answer. But there are a couple of things. I do say nothing with an asterisk. So Jarvis creates data sets out of FBI and SHIELD, and oh, we've got sunglasses up here. That's awesome. And CIA data sets. Like, we probably shouldn't do that, but not for technical reasons. And then Jarvis also can put up holograms all over the place. We probably aren't quite there yet. But pretty much everything else that Jarvis does for Tony, we have the technology to do that right now. And so my question then is, why don't we each already have our own Jarvis? In fact, even the billionaires on this planet don't have a Jarvis. So as far as I know, not that I'm friends with any billionaires, but if you know anybody, I don't know if I'd want to be their friend. Anyway, so why don't we have one? The thing is, we've actually been trying for a long time to build a Jarvis-like experience, because it's more than just Jarvis. It's like back in the 80s with the computer, or even before that on Star Trek. We've wanted to be able to naturally communicate with natural language to our computers and have them go off and do stuff. And so we've been trying to do this. We've got the Google Assistant and laughable attempt by Apple called Siri. And there's a bunch of attempts at this problem. So why have we not been able to get there? My argument is because of integrations. Every single one of these companies has their own special API that companies can build to integrate with those things, but then users have to go and install the app, they have to configure everything, and it's not the Jarvis experience that Tony Stark has. And this is a big pain. Like, for some things, yeah, we can have those sorts of integrations. You've got your Google Calendar and your Gmail and your documents, and those can integrate all nicely. But those integrations are very bespoke and specific to those services. And then if we think about, what about your everyday, like, normal person activities where you say, oh, my kid's birthday party is coming up. I need to rent the pavilion at the park or schedule that with my city municipality. They've got a website, and I can go do that. And that would be cool if I could just tell the computer, yeah, reserve that. Or even without that, like, I open up my Google Calendar, I say, here's the time it's going to be. It would be cool if I had integration with my municipality right there and say, here's the location, and it signs it up. But that entire integration would have to be built for every single municipality. Or every municipality would at least have to build their own integration there with Google Calendar. and then they would have to convince you, the user, to like set up that integration. Integration is the death of Jarvis. It is what makes it so that we have this terrible experience of just everything has to be specifically integrated with everything else. And we can't do that. It's not reasonable. APIs are breaking all the time. All of you have built integrations with different services, and it's not the most fun thing. So what I actually want is a robot that manages the integrations for everything. Everything can talk to the robot can talk to everything, and from there, the integrations happen naturally and automatically. And that is what MCP enables, Model Context Protocol. So let's talk a little bit about the Model Context Protocol, history, architecture, all of that. We're going to start with phase 1. For a very long time, actually this morning, we heard from Corey, they've been doing AI stuff for 70 years. We've been able to have a language model or some sort of AI model that's able to generate tokens for us. We give it some tokens, and it gives us back tokens that it can that seem to sort of make sense. But not a lot of people actually had access to this unless you were super technical, because we didn't have a good host application to make it easy to interact. But a couple of years ago, a small company called OpenAI created this website, ChatGPT. And all of a sudden, any normal, non-technical person could go in there and ask it a question and get the wrong answer. And that was really exciting because it actually read like it was a normal, correct answer. And over time, it's gotten way, way better. This was a huge pivotal moment for all of us. I think that I can say that. In these early days, I actually remember people were posting screenshots of conversations they were having, and they're like, look, I asked it to set up, to run a Docker container, and look, it's got the output for the Docker container. And at first, I was like, wait, no, it can't really do that, can it? No, it was literally just generating the terminal output of what it might be if it was actually running the Docker container. So yeah, it's not always necessarily accurate. But this was really, really huge because it could answer our questions. That's getting us a little bit closer to Jarvis, right? Jarvis can answer questions, all based off of the foundational model training. But yeah, it actually can answer questions, and it's pretty good at it. And it can relate different topics as well. It's pretty interesting, having an actual conversation. The problem was it can't do anything at this phase. And so we get into the next phase, where the different host applications say, you know what? The LLM is just generating tokens. That's all it does, just a token generator. But if I have some sort of special way to communicate with that LLM so that it can tell me if it needs to call a tool to get additional information, additional context, or even perform some sort of action, then yeah, let's do that. So the host application builds these specific integrations, these specific tools to integrate with different things. And now so it can do a Google search and get more up-to-date information. Or it can integrate with your Google Docs, and now it can save a document to your Google Docs, or whatever. So any tool. And so now it can finally do stuff. We're getting even closer to Jarvis. And so people started building wrappers around the AI models. Many of you may be doing that right now, building a wrapper around the AI model so you have a chat in your own application, and users can actually change their username or control your application in some way in your little chat bot. And this is cool. And now you have tools that are specific to your application. But we still have the integration problem because every one of those tools needs to integrate directly to the host application. That requires work on the part of whoever's building ChatGPT or whoever's building your bot. And the other problem is, yeah, sure, you can build tools that integrate with your application, and then I can build tools that integrate with mine, but those two AI agents can't really communicate with each other. And so if I'm a user who needs to accomplish a single task that requires multiple services, I have to take the context out of one AI chat, put it into another, and then take the context out of that and put it into another so that I can get this whole experience. It's a really bad experience. And so it can do stuff, but it can't do enough. And so now we're entering phase 3. This is MCP. The idea here is a classic inversion of control solution. Instead of having the host application be responsible for managing the integration with all of these services, let's push that integration work over to the services through a standard protocol. This is actually kind of what we've been doing for a really long time, and even ChatGPT had this idea of plugins that you could make for ChatGPT.com. But like Apple has their thing for Siri, and Google has their thing for the Home Assistant, or for the Assistant, and all of that. But the difference with MCP is that it's a standard, and so you can build to that standard, and now any of the host applications can leverage that integration. And that's what makes this so powerful. It's at the same level as HTTP or the web browser and the JavaScript spec, everything. You can just write to this. Any browser can integrate with that, and you don't have to, your teams don't have to talk, or there's no documentation that's specific to this vendor or provider. And so now with MCP, we can do anything. Any service provider can integrate or can build something that integrates with MCP, and then any host application that supports MCP can support that. Clients aren't quite there just yet, but they're getting better all the time. So let's expand this a little bit and talk about the architecture of how this works. The host application will set up, depending on the application, you'll have like some sort of installation process for connecting to a specific MCP service. And then the host application will set up a client that's just a pretty generic client. So it's not like they need to build an integration specific to everyone. So they just spin up an instance of a client that has that configuration, and then it can communicate to your MCP server. And what makes this so powerful is that the service provider is in charge of all the server stuff on the from their back. And with that now, if you're Slack and you decide, oh, we need to change our API, well, you also are in control of how the MCP server communicates to your API as well. And so you can deploy a new version of your API, you can deploy an updated version of your MCP server, and all the host applications that integrate with Slack don't have to do anything at all to worry about that. It's the exact same sort of thing as if you're building a website and you decide you want to change some of your interface. You don't have to talk to the browser to make sure that they update their version of your website. You just deploy a new version of the website and everybody gets the latest version. And that's what makes MCP so much more powerful than what we've had so far. I want to show you a little demo of what this looks like in action as of June when I recorded this video. It's gotten better and in more clients since then, but it was already pretty cool in June. So I was in Poland with my son, and I asked Claude, that has some MCP servers integrated, to write a journal entry for me about my trip with my son, because who has time for that? Just kidding. Normally, you should write your own journal entries. Yeah, I asked it to get my location and weather conditions and make up a creative story. So we're going to have it run with that. The first thing it does, it says, great, I'll help you create that. No, I should have had it say, you're absolutely right, shouldn't I? Oh, well. So the first thing that it does is it says, oh, okay, you want to make a journal entry in EpicMe. That's a service that I made that's actually only accessible through MCP. And so it's saying, okay, well, I need to authenticate me at KenzieDodds.com to EpicMe. So let me handle that authentication process. We'll allow that. So actually, this first thing that pops up, we call this the human in the loop. You'll notice if you watch Tony Stark working with Jarvis, Jarvis doesn't typically ask him if it's okay to do one thing or another. Jarvis will just kind of do it. But sometimes Jarvis does. He says, would you like me to so-and-so, or such and such? And Tony will say, no, don't call the president. That's fine. I'll do it myself or something. But for us, we're not quite at Jarvis level. Claude doesn't understand me and my preferences well enough yet. We'll get there eventually. But pretty much every tool call, it's going to ask me this. And I can say, yeah, allow it always. I trust that this is always going to be fine. Sometimes the tool that you're calling is a read-only tool. And there are affordances in the MCP spec to say, yeah, this one's fine to run anytime. It's read-only. It's not going to cause any problems. So you'll notice that this modal pops up several times because we have this human in the loop. There's a low trust right now with AIs and MCPs. And so we're just being abundantly cautious here. So yeah, I approve this. Oh, and one other thing. The end user, I believe in the future when this is even better. And in fact, this is the case now. ChatGPT just launched MCP support in ChatGPT.com a few days ago. And they do not show you all of this output. They just show, like, we called a tool, and you can expand it if you want to. So yeah, the end user won't typically see like all of this JSON text and stuff. That's not really a great user experience. We'll talk more about that here in a second too. So here, actually, here's something kind of interesting as well. So if you look closely at the output, it says the user has been sent an email with a validation token. Please have the user submit the token using the validate token tool. And so the authenticate tool from my MCP server is talking to the LLM, treating the LLM as a human assistant. It's almost like I have my people, right? Have my people call your people, right? Whatever. But I have this assistant who is now talking to the service on my behalf. And that service response to the assistant says, have your person go check their email. And maybe if I had an MCP server for my email, I wouldn't even have to go and check my email to get that token to validate who I am. And the LLM could just do it all for me, which would be nice. But yeah, let me grab that token from my email. I send it back to Claude. And Claude will then validate that token. And now the MCP server knows that I, in fact, do own me at KenzieDodds.com. The next thing it's going to do is get my location. I have another server that's running locally on my machine called Locationator that will get my my coordinates. This is not my home address because, like I said, I recorded this in Poland very intentionally so that you all wouldn't get my coordinates of my home address. Yeah, so now it's going to use that information to get the weather. Now here's like an important point. Here, a second ago, it was using the Locationator. Where'd it go? There it is, right there. It's using Locationator. Before, it used EpicMe, and now it's using weather. And it took information from the Locationator and used that as an input to getting the weather. That's the integration just disappearing before our eyes. Now we just build a single integration to MCP, and then the LLM, our agent, is now responsible for integrating across all the different services. So when I built EpicMe, and when I built Locationator, when I built the weather MCP, all of these things had nothing to do with each other. And they weren't built specifically to support this specific use case, but they do because of MCP. That, I think, is a pretty cool aspect of this feature and what's enabling us to do what we're doing. So from here, it's going to be calling the EpicMe server to create tags to add to my entry. It creates the entry itself. It's kind of fun. You can read it really fast if you want to. We were in Krakow, and there's like a legend of a dragon and the castle and stuff. It's fun. So yeah, here it creates my journal entry, and then it's like, yeah, I created it. Ta-da! And I called like 16 tools to do that. If I had done that myself, or if I'd asked another human to do it, they wouldn't have done it as quickly. So that's another really awesome benefit of being able to use MCP, is that it's able to do all of these things just so, maybe not necessarily faster. In this case, it was probably faster to have the LLM do it. But in such a way that I could like tell it to go and do that, and then I can go do something else. So lots of really interesting, cool things that we have from here. Another thing here is now I say, okay, get me the journal entry you just made, so it's going to go get that. And we get our response is just JSON, but it decides, you know what? It's better to show this to the user as title, content, and I'm going to format it in a way that's more consumable for the user. What's powerful about that is, let's say that instead of a journaling app, this is a social media app. And so I've got a friend who posted something, I want to read their post, but they write in Japanese. And I don't read Japanese. And so the LLM can read Japanese, and it could translate it for me. Just naturally, that's just like how it works. Or we're going to talk about MCP UI in a second. The MCP server could display it in a really nice user interface that is interactive and everything as well. There's just a lot of power here. Or I could ask it to summarize this for me, or whatever. And I, as the MCP author, did not have to build out some big, complicated agentic pipeline or anything. The MCP servers, all three of these, actually don't talk to an LLM at all. There's no like wrapping of the OpenAI API or Anthropic's API or whatever. I'm not using those. I'm just writing this service, and then the natural language comes from the application that the user is using already, which is super awesome from a cost perspective, and you don't have to worry about token abuse or any of that, which is pretty cool. And then I say, hey, delete it, and now log me out, and that's the end of the demo. So I wanted to mention one other thing about this, and that is lots of the times when I talk about this, people were like, yeah, but text is like the worst way to, the worst interface. Like, I may like to talk to the LLM with text, but if I'm saying, hey, can I get the numbers for the quarter on sales and who was the best salesman and all of that stuff, you want to have a graph for that. You want to have some visual representation of that. Or I say, I want directions to the nearest taco stand. You don't want it to say, OK, turn left and right. Like in text, you want to see a map. And so MCP UI is a project to make it so that you can have an actual interactive experience. And that, oops, I've got a demo. So this is actually an early demo of this being built into VS Code, just because that's neat. Yeah, so this is all running in MCP within the context of the chat. And you can interact with the UI, and then that actually interacts with the chat. And you can get details and all of this stuff. This can not necessarily be done in a thread. You could put it into a sidecar and just keep that UI updated. It's a pretty powerful and really early specification that I think is going to take the skills that you already have and keep them relevant as UI developers. And I'm super excited and stoked about that. So the current state of things is we have actually a lot of clients, lots of clients that support it. Like I said, ChatGPT just added support to chatgpt.com. So it's not just a developer thing anymore. Early, it seemed like, oh, it's just a developer tooling thing. But no, it's making its way into consumer tools. Non-technical users are going to start to experience this. I should add as an aside, it's added in ChatGPT when developer mode is turned on. So still technically developer focused. But at the end of their demo video, they said, this is just the beginning. We're going to bring this to the masses. That will be huge. And so I don't know about you all, but when I have a question, 5 years ago, I would go to Google, and I would ask my question using my Google foo that I've that skill that I've honed over 15 years or longer. And we had to teach our parents, when you taught your parents how to use Google, they would ask the question in long-form text, and you say, no, you have to use this special language to be able to find the things you're looking for. Google's gotten a little bit better at that, but now we're actually going back in the reverse, and you just use natural language. I don't really go to Google anymore. I use DuckDuckGo. No, just kidding. I use ChatGPT. And because most of the time, it does a much better job of getting the specific answer that I want. Rather than going to the article and maybe I want a recipe or something, and so reading the 6 paragraphs so that my grandmother made this recipe. And no, I don't care, just give me the recipe. ChatGPT can get me the answer faster and reference more sources, and it's fabulous. And so that's where users want to be. And you want to be there when they say, how do I, where can I get somebody to watch my dog? If you're a dog sitter app, you want to be the app that ChatGPT says, yeah, you can use dogsitterapp.com or whatever, and would you like me to schedule that for you? And have it all happen in that experience. That's where you want to be. So we've got tons of servers. I put a couple on here, but yeah, they're you can manage your entire Stripe side of your business just through their MCP server. It's an amazing experience. You can say invoice this person, refund this person, what are my sales like? And the Stripe MCP server is really, really cool. Lots of things that you can do just all with natural language. And guess what that does to your onboarding process for users, right? It just evaporates because the user would just say what they're trying to do, and the LLM just knows what is possible with the tools you're exposing, and it goes and does them. If you write a quality MCP server, that turns into a really excellent experience. So I'm excited about our MCP future. I'm so excited that I've actually written a lot about it. So I have created EpicAI.pro. The .dev was taken, so those jerks. But we're going pro now. And yeah, so I've been writing a lot about it. And on top of that, I also, this is a really great timing because in a week and a half, I'm going to be running a cohort to teach everybody who joins how to build quality MCP servers, covering the fundamentals and advanced features, MCP UI, and authorization. So like the full thing, everything that you really need to know about MCP and building servers right now. So you can join that cohort it starts on the 22nd. There are discounts available until Monday, so don't delay looking at that. It's going to be awesome. Hundreds of other developers. You can all go through it together. I'll be doing office hours, lots of really cool things. With that, I hope that this was interesting. I have to leave to go pick up my kids from school here in just a minute. So if you want to chat, meet me up there really right after this. And thank you all so much for coming to the conference. And let's actually give a round of applause for the organizers for putting this together. Every year, this has just been, you all are awesome. Thank you for doing that. And thank you all. I think you're great. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Oh, I guess I have time for Q&A. If anybody wants to Q&A me, I'm happy to answer questions. Yeah.
So I was just looking up the MCP protocol kind of while you were talking a little bit, and so I'm just curious how the clients essentially register the MCP servers that are available with the client itself.
Yeah. So the question is how does the client discover the available MCP servers?
Yes.
Yeah, so there are a number of ways. Right now, most of the time you just install them like you would an app. And there's not like an app store. But there is, just as of last week, there's a registry that's an official registry that you can publish your MCP server to that. And then clients are actively building around that registry their own registries that are built on top of that. I think it'll actually, in the future, work a lot like the web, where you publish a website and you just assume it's going to get on Google eventually, right? Like you post it on social media, boom, now Google knows. But for, yeah, right now, you pretty much tell your friends and give them the link, and then they give that to their AI agent. And yeah, good question. Yeah?
Does it give a standard for onboarding a new user?
Does it give what?
Is there a standard for like user registration?
Yeah, so it does have authorization. Oh yeah, so the question is, does it give you, is there a standard for user registration? No, like not exactly. So the standard for authorization is OAuth, and so you have to have an authorization set up, or an OAuth authorization server set up. And typically in that sort of environment, you have like this other website that they already have an account on. That's a gap in the spec right now. I foresee that, and actually I'm in talks with the steering committee on making this a little bit more like a website, where you land on the website. There are some things that are you can't use because you're not authorized. There are some things that are public, and as you can go through a login flow, and now you have access to more things. So that is going to happen eventually. Good question. I thought you were going to ask about like what is the onboarding flow like, and it's literally just like, what can I do with this MCP server? Or in normal language speak, ChatGPT calls them connectors. I think that's what Claude calls them as well. Yeah, normal people don't want to say MCP. Yeah.
So you mentioned having it like a ChatGPT recommend your service. Could you then have an MPC server that says, would you like to sign up for this service? You just give the chat your email and it goes and signs you up.
Yeah. So what you saw in my demo, I actually am kind of hacking around the way that the authorization stuff works to make my thing work, and it is actually awesome. But I'm not going to teach anybody how to do that because it's not the way we'll do it in the future. But yeah, you can absolutely have people sign up for your service right through MCP. And in fact, Stripe has an SDK for MCP where you can charge on tool use. So if the service is actually the MCP server, then every time the user calls a tool, they can be charged, or you can like they get 20 calls for this amount or whatever. So yeah, Really, you can, your MCP server, once that request comes in, you get the inputs, you can do anything at that point. It's just running on your server now. Does that answer your question, kind of? OK, cool. Other questions? Yeah.
Sorry, how does it affect, how does the MCP protocol and like any of the registered MCP servers affect token usage?
Oh, good question.
That each time?
Yeah, so the question is, how does the installed MCP servers affect token usage? It's actually a significant problem. If you have tons of MCP servers installed, each one of those needs to be included in context for the LLM to be able to know whether to call your tool. This is a problem for the clients to solve, and they are working on solving it. Luckily, just like with web browsers and websites, most of us are not working on web browsers. Most of us are working on websites. And in the same way, most of us won't be working on the AI agent. Most of us will be working on the MCP servers. So I'm going to let them solve that problem. It is a solvable problem. There are approaches and research papers on how to solve that. Yeah, we don't have to worry about that. Just keep building really good servers, and the clients will get better.
Use agents with big context windows?
Yeah, you could use agents with big context windows. I'm thinking more like if you asked a human to do something for you, they have a lot of context in their mind, but they may not know all the possibilities, and so they're going to go to a search engine to find out what's the most appropriate tool. Same sort of thing. OK, I still got like 3 minutes and 37, 36, 35, 34 seconds. OK, great. Thank you, everybody.